All right, let's go to this part down here. So this is what we want to create before we continue with much more. And this is what we have. So we're just going to reuse some of the data as I mentioned before. All right, let's scroll down here and let's just do quickly a comment so we can separate this. This will be orders list area, so it's easy for us to spot where everything needs to go. And I'm just going to remove these lines here. Awesome. So right now we have this set up. We have, what we want is we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 table heads, right? Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would fit quite well with this part here, right? So we need to add some more table head to control the data. And I'm just gonna do a 10% here because I know we're gonna use a lot of this. So I'm gonna copy this part here with where we have our name of item. I'm just gonna paste this in so we have a total of, I think it's 7. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So this will be 7 once we're done with them. I'm just gonna remove them a little bit back and like this and like this. First one we want, if we just open here, is we want order number. So if it's order number 1 or so on and so on, and we want to keep this at 10%, so taking up 10% of the space. Next one we want to create is the quantity. So I'm just going to do the shorthand notation. Instead of writing quantity, if you can write quantity. I'm just doing QTY. And then this one is just going to be called item. And the next one is going to be price. And then we have status. So what's the status of the item? Is it completed, on progress, and so on and so on. And then in the second to last, it's the archive item. And then the last one will be remove. Now, I want to just switch this up a little bit. So where we have the item name, I want it to take up 30%. This might need to be more later on, but whatever. And then the last one down here, we want to set up for 10%, 10%, 10%. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually leaving 10%, I think. Am I correct? Am I correct? And so let's add 40 to this one here. That's your total 100%. Awesome. So that's the table head for now. We're also going to add in just a orders headliner here. So I'm just going to go up here and steal the info here, right? Because woohoo, it works. My copy button is weird today. So I'm taking this, going back. Sorry, I just covered the mic when I talked. And just before the simple vSimple table, just paste this in and type in orders. Well, let's do capital. And then we should go back here and we have orders. So right now this is screwed up, don't worry about that. Next thing we want to do is we want to set up our, I can't do this without, I have to do this. And there we go. So let's start setting up the table body part because we need that to fit together with the other one, of course. So still just using these to control everything, but instead of having all these, we don't want the menu items, so let's, the pictures, whatever, remove those. TD, just remove that, so we just have an empty TD here. And the first one, I'm just going to use numbers, the item price, to just, so we can actually see some stuff, like some data, right? So let's do this, item number, instead of the image, we should have our, why didn't it refresh now, come on, log in, bagel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and orders, and this. So now we have the numbers here, right? That's great. So that's the first one. The second one is we want quantity, so let's just do this one again. Put in the item price here, and for the next one is the name, so I'm just going to take this one here, copy the name, and put this in here instead. I can just do this instead. So name, and then cut these two here because we don't want them anymore. So we have quantity, orders, quantity, and item name. And then the next one we have is in our row price. Where did it go? Down here. We don't want the button anymore, so just remove this. Type in your curly brackets or just copy the price here. I'm gonna do that, that's quicker. and let's click save. So this is now here. Status is the next one. So we need to copy this out at least 3 more times, right? So 1, 2, 3. And then go, I don't know why it does this with the indenting, it's so annoying. And then we should have this over here. Great. So in the first one we want to have our, in our status one we want to have the button, and we already have the button ready up here. So let's just take the in progress one, that's the one I used. Take this and copy this into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that will be this one. Paste this in and like this. So this should create the button for the status one. Woo! And it prints it out 4 times because I have 4 elements in my Firestore. Archive item is, I kind of wish I didn't delete the button, because now I need to go in here and grab the btn here for this again and paste this in here and here, because we want the buttons in here. So we can archive and we can remove, so we don't want the plus icons anymore. The one we want to use, one of them is the archive, and we already know the keyword for this. That's just archive. That should change it to this. And we don't want it to be, and then the trash for the red, trash for the remove item, and it's red, and this is gray. So we already have that information. So let's just switch this to gray, like this. This should turn it gray. And then the last one we want to do is we want to have the delete. That's the trash can. So you can go search for this, but I know. And that turns to this one, and instead of this one we want this to be incomplete. I think that's the red one, right? Sweet. So now we have the setup for our basket here. And one of the things we're going to have to think about going a little bit further in is, I closed it now, is right now we have an order, right? And an order can contain, in this case, 1 bagel. Or 2 bagels, so quantity of 2 bagels. But what if I have more than 1 bagel? So bagel 1 and bagel 2, we need to separate this by lines and also separate the quantity here. So once we get to that point, we'll have to figure that one out. We also have to figure out what we're going to do with the remove order and the archive button, and also how we switch this with vbind, so we can switch both the background color, the text here, so the status in this one. But in the coming videos we'll be focusing on this part, and this will be the revenue completed order will be the last the last things I'll create if I get to that point. But we're going to be focusing on completing this, so we have the ability to go from our menu now, and we want to have this and this bagel, and then we have blah blah blah, and then we click checkout, and then the checkout will send this information, the data from the array into Firestore, and then Firestore will then send this, or we'll save this in an order collection, and then we'll grab the collection here and print this out here, and then kind of do the interaction we already have with the basket and everything. But that's the next part of this series here.